We're streaming Wasteland. This is episode 8, season 1, episode 8 of The Bear. This is the finale of season 1. I guess before this aired, there was a little bit of concern that there wouldn't be a season 2 because we live in the time where shows don't get to end. But Hulu did confirm ahead of the release of this episode that they had, in fact, ordered a second season. So no concerns there. I do wish more shows would at least get the chance to end properly instead of just leaving me at the end of season 2 and never coming back. But I don't know. I guess that's probably our fault for having divided attention spans. I don't know. I don't know what makes a show network successful or streaming successful these days. I don't know if you have to have social media presence, whatever. Anyway, I'm Greg, and over there is a guy who is vaguely related to you on somebody's side of the family, but nobody really knows how, but he shows up for every gathering where there's food. Say hi, Ringo.
Hey, Ringo. Where's my invitation?
There's no food here. This is a pay your way into the dinner.
Oh, then I don't need to be here. Bye. I gotta say, when it comes to some series, I've seen that Netflix doesn't like paying certain amounts of money and then they cancel it. So even if it's successful, if they're like, "Oh, you've reached your limit," they're like, "No more money for you."
Yeah, I saw that happened to One Day at a Time, or that's one of the things that happened to One Day at a Time. Is after 3 seasons, the actors were all due for pay renegotiations, and so Netflix canceled the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels right on that same line as where it's like, oh, interns are learning valuable life skills, which is why we don't pay them, and why many states have struck down unpaid internships. And so this kind of idea of like, oh yeah, no, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll renew it for 3 seasons, and then we'll see if you get a raise. Like that feels real on the same line.
Yeah.
But unlike most Americans, actors have a great union that fights for them. So
Very true. I know that, and I haven't looked into it, so this is just kind of off the top of my head. But in The Walking Dead, there was a kid that was in it since like he was like 7 or 8 or something like that, and he was about to turn 18. So they killed his character off because,
of course,
because once he turns 18, they got to pay him like actual wages.
Got to pay him now, and he's gonna ask for more money. He's like, I've been getting paid only this.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, streaming services are kind of shitty, especially considering like one of my new favorite series is about to go off air and over to MGM. So MGM, suck my balls.
Yeah, MGM can suck my ass. Not the biggest fan of Disney these days, but the last couple videos we've put out have gotten through copyright unclaimed. I'm also not the biggest fan of Cyberlink. Cyberlink, you can suck my ass. Your last update sucked. It broke my shit, and it made it so that I couldn't import media, and it made it so that every time I had to restart the fucking thing, you told me, oh, concurrent sessions aren't allowed. And that last one has been a problem since 2018 because I found old posts on your fucking forums about it. Also, your forums are balls. Your forums are balls.
On the Disney conversation real quick, I've been notified by Hulu that they're going to be raising my subscription price. So my wife and I had a conversation, and I am canceling my Hulu. She's decided she's going to bundle Hulu with her Disney because they're doing a deal there, and then we'll run that until they raise their price, and then we'll just cancel from there.
Just get rid of it. Yeah.
And we'll do what smart people do, kind of bounce around or pirate. I mean, what?
Yeah, not pirate. I would never use a VPN to go get shows that are not available in my network. I would never go to certain websites and download things.
Yeah, I said it with a W, not an R, so it's pirate.
Oh, I thought you meant like a silent W in the front.
That too.
I was like W pirate, WAN pirate. But yeah. Anyway, this is episode 8, the final episode of season 1. It is called Braciole or Braciole, if you ask Google.
Braciole.
Braciole. Actually, saying it like that sounds very Pauly Shore. Braciole. Snooshing on some booshin'.
You want to go get some Braciole?
Free eats back at the Dorma. Pizza. Double cheese.
Ole.
Much like the last episode, this is in the top 5 highest rated episodes of The Bear. It is got a 9.2 on IMDb. I'm using only IMDb because I don't feel like comparing a bunch of other websites, and also these ratings are fairly consistent. I don't think anybody's so invested to be like, no, this episode should be 4 and not 5. Like that's weird. It is well received. There is so obviously we're going to do season 2 and then season 3, but there is a like a perception out there right now. I haven't seen it, but I've seen articles that season 3 of The Bear has fallen off, and I think it's because the second half of season 2 is actually where all of the rest of the top ranked episodes are. I think it's really hard to bounce back from a second half of season that's all like 9.5, 9.7, 9.8, and then come back after a season break and like hit that same quality level. But that's thoughts for the future. I'll let you know once I've actually seen season 3. So this episode starts with a dream sequence. It's pretty obvious it's a dream sequence from the get-go of Carmy on a cooking show. He's cooking some dishes, talking a little bit about why the show is called The Bear. And then stuff starts disappearing and he starts freaking out. He's like, guys, where the fuck is my stuff?
I can't do this. Guys, I can't do this. Stop. I can't do this.
What's going on? We're starting to see the same old Carmy that we saw at the end of the last episode, this incredibly stressed out, yelling. The audience is all laughing at him. And then as he's kind of like, he wakes up, realizes it's a dream. He hears his brother's voice telling him like let it rip. And then he sees the then he sees that Uncle Jimmy has called. Wants to have a meeting with him, which would stress me out as well. So he goes to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. We then get, so this episode is about 40 minutes long, 45 minutes long. Let me look real quick. But the monologue here that we get from Carmy is just absolutely spot on perfect. Yeah, this is a 48-minute episode. It's a 48-minute episode, and it is a 7-minute monologue here in the beginning from Carmy. He has just banger after banger as he kind of explains his life, everything that's happened to him. He talks about how he and Michael were super close. He thought Michael was his best friend, but everybody thought that Michael was their best friend, and it wasn't until he got older that he realized he didn't even know his brother. He has a couple quotes in here that just fucking sat with me. He talks about how it took him a long time to kind of find where he fit in life. Like when he was younger, he had a speech impediment. He never felt like he fit in anywhere, etc. He got into cooking to kind of spite his brother. He's like, fuck you. I'm going to work at all these best restaurants. You're not going to let me work with you. You're not going to let me cook with you. Then fuck you. And he went out there and he says, I got my ass kicked. And I learned, and it was good for me. And I finally kind of developed this like place in life. And he says, the more people I cut out, the quieter my life got.
I felt like I could speak through the food, like I could communicate through creativity and that kind of confidence. Like I was good at something that was so new and that was so exciting, and I just wanted him to know that, and I just wanted him to be like, good job. And the more he wouldn't respond, and the more our relationship kind of strained, the deeper into this I went and the better I got. And the more people I cut out, the quieter my life. And the routine of the kitchen was so consistent and exacting and busy and hard and alive, and I lost track of time, and he died.
And then he goes, and time went by, and soon enough my brother was dead. And then he kind of he left me his restaurant, and he pivots and saying, he's like, I think it's clear that me trying to fix the restaurant is me trying to fix whatever was going on with my brother and maybe with the whole family, because this place means a lot to all of us. And we all give a shit about it. And it's just not clear that my brother ever. We get this whole 7-minute monologue from Carmy, Jeremy Allen White, doing a fucking fantastic job. He said that he practiced this scene on his own in his apartment to get it right. And he felt a lot of pressure because this is a character that the creator had in his head for 10 years. And he's like, this is this character's like moment. He's like, I can't fuck this up. Apparently it was also filmed on the very last day of shooting for the entire show. Like this is like the last scene filmed.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. I like that there's enough information about the show that I can find out those facts, because sometimes when I'm trying to find out shit about older shows, my options are to trust a old ass answer from a dude that seems sketch on the internet, or like go read a book about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to buy an entire book just to find out like when did they film this episode of Home Improvement? I don't need that book.
Or you got to go ahead and spend like whatever the cost is to go ahead and buy like the DVD collection and hope it has the fucking like director's commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, just hoping. Ooh, yeah, and that's one of the things he comments on. Like, just instead of being like, oh yeah, you could see here that Randy was really being a turd. Like he was hard to work with that year. And like you're like, no, but when was this filmed? Like what time of the year? And I mean, it rarely matters. It's just a curiosity thing. So
Yeah.
I understand why it's hard to even care. I'm sure if you asked me exactly when I was working on a given video game, I'd be like, I don't know, like 2008 ish. So then anyway, we get back to the restaurant. Carmy checks to see if anybody's heard from Marcus. Nobody has. And then he tells everybody, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're going to be closed for dinner service tonight. We are hosting a bachelor party. It's for Uncle Jimmy's buddies, and I'd be upset if I was them, but I also, I guess, appreciate the night off? Question mark. Sydney and Marcus meet up and have dinner. They start talking about their feelings and about quitting the restaurant. Sydney kind of explains how it is she knew she wanted to work in fine dining, how she went to New York and spent every dollar she had just eating everything, and she had this best meal. Marcus is talking about how he and both she and Carmy have pushed and made him better, and that like he's not going to go back to what he was doing. And Sydney kind of does the same thing. Like, I'm also not going back. I can't go back to working at the post office. Like, I can't do that. And so she's, they're both kind of like, so what are we gonna do? Marcus is like, I guess it's back to the beef for me. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm like, I don't have a ton of options, I'm super broke. And he's like, hey, where was that? Like, what was the best meal you had? And she's like, it was Carmy's. Of course it was Carmy's. you know and this leads me to one question that I don't think is answered very well in the show, and that is, was Carmy doing all of this crazy work for free? Because if he's the chef at the best restaurant in the world, you got to think he has some money, and he's not relying on weathering denim to fucking sell on the streets.
I get That's a good question. I think the only answer that I can come up with is he's like actually like a hardcore alcoholic and he burned all his money on alcohol. But I mean, we don't see any of that in the series. So yeah, where the fuck's all his money?
Yeah. And so like I don't know exactly how much chefs get paid. I'm not like, but it doesn't sound like he has a lot of cash on hand. And so I don't know. I thought about this when she's talking about like, I went to all these fine restaurants in New York. And I'm like, you're telling me these guys, they make what, like $40,000 a year? I fucking doubt it, right?
Right?
And you're telling me that Carmy doesn't have some like cookbook or some signature recipe that he gets some royalties off of or some shit? And uh anyway, it's something that popped into my head because I get that he probably doesn't have 350 grand laying around to pay Uncle Jimmy back, but I do think that it is likely that he would have some money that he could give to Uncle Jimmy and be like, hey, take this as a down payment to like fuck off.
Well,
Did you look it up?
yeah. So I googled, how much do 5-star chefs make a year? Apparently, like 49. So Washington 49,000, hourly wage 23.64, Nevada 48,000, South Dakota 48, Colorado 47. So they're averaging 24.63 an hour. Like, I guess I should look in New York or New York. You're looking at $45,607 a year.
See, what I'm seeing is executive chefs and Michelin star restaurants make somewhere between 62 and 100K a year.
Okay.
And so I know New York's an expensive place to live, but Carmy doesn't seem like the type who parties
Yeah.
at all. And so, and from what I understand, chefs don't have a lot of time to do that. And so unless this guy was buying expensive cigarettes from like by the carton, and just burning through them, I don't think that Carmy blew through all of his salary.
I don't think so
And so
either.
that's something I wondered. I was like, does he have no savings that he can put into this? Maybe he's not committed. He's like, I can't do this. But with events that happen at the end of this episode and going into the next season, I feel like if he had some money, this has been when we heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe some of it could be going to supporting his mom. or something like that. But that also doesn't strike me as true, as we get the idea that he has not been close with his family. So who knows? I suppose it's one of those things. It's kind of like, how do the friends pay for their apartment, right? Like, I'm just being that guy right now. It's
Yeah.
just like, this show focuses on money a lot, and I wanna know where Carmy's is.
It's in his knife. He put all his money into his knife.
That one knife, the $300 million knife.
It explains why we were getting that ear.
Yeah. I also do want to throw out here that this is where both Sydney and Marcus call Carmy a little bitch.
And I'm really sorry that Carmy destroyed it like a little bitch.
That's exactly what he did. He destroyed it like a bitch.
Little bitch.
A little small bitch.
Okay.
And yeah, that comes up later in the show. But the back at the restaurant, the bachelor party is going on. Richie and Carmy are both disappointed that they even have to do it. Richie's like, this is fucking disgraceful, like embarrassing. And then a fight breaks out inside. And Richie, like, they're trying to break the fight up. Richie punches a guy, and this guy falls, hits his head on the counter, and drops to the floor. And it looks like he fucking died. And so our next shot is Richie in jail. And Richie basically realizing, like, dude, holy fuck, I might be going to jail for a long fucking time right now. And he's asking the guard, like, did this guy wake up? You know, has he woken up yet? And the guard's like, not yet. And so Richie makes his last phone call, or his phone call is one phone call, which that's not a thing, but sure. He makes his one phone call, and he leaves his wife a message and lets her know, you know, like, I love you, wish things had worked out, yada, yada, yada.
I just, you know, I'm just getting off work. It's been a crazy day. All good though. You know, I was just thinking about all that shit that went down with your dad, you know, and how I called him when I called him. You were right, you know. That was not okay. I'm sorry.
He finally hears that the guy woke up, and so he gets bailed out by Carmy. Carmy tells him he used the restaurant's like 2-week safety fund to bail him out. And Richie's kind of like, you know, hey, cuz you're all I got. You're all I have left. Like, don't bail on me. And you're like, oh, poor Richie. I think he's finally realized, like, fuck, dude. Like, a few episodes back, Tina worded him up, like, you're gonna quit. Where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You know, what do you have? And he's, you know, kind of realizing, like, fuck, dude. I need this place, and I need cousin, and I need all of that. Anyway, they get back to the restaurant to find that Marcus is back. Carmy apologizes to him. Marcus is kind of like, whatever, you know, heard, chef. You know, and I'd be like, bitch, you owe him an apology too. I said this last episode. Marcus is not in the clear here. But in my opinion, maybe a professional chef can chime in and let me know how far up my head is. But it doesn't feel like it's up my ass right now. Should just clip that out of context. Put that in your Jackie Chan 69 like mix, you know, like, I want a Jackie Chan 69, and then be like, it doesn't feel like it's up my ass right now. Sample that for our upcoming EDM track. Like, that's what plays right before the beat drops, you know. Doesn't feel like it's in my ass right now. Boom, you know. If I had any talent as a DJ, I'd try to do that. But my musical talent relies in not having talent.
Right. We could add right after. We could take Ibrahim's statement of, what the fuck is this? This is not respect, and add that right after.
Yeah. But yeah, and then so back at the restaurant after Carmy apologizes to Marcus, and Marcus like accepts it, the Tina starts talking to Carmy about, like, what's wrong with you? You don't seem so animated. And Carmy's kind of like, dude, like, isn't this what Michael was like? And she's like, no, except for one time when he didn't want to pay the vendors, and we didn't have no napkins, and it's, you know, he didn't pay the napkin vendor. And when I asked him why not, he's like, what's the point? There won't be any money next month either. And she's like, that was really unlike him, you know. And I think we starting to see that, like, there were signs that this was going badly. The suicide didn't happen out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I also like how Tina is able to like pick up on those. Like, she pays attention to people. Like,
Mhm.
she's realizing right now that Carmy is not acting like his normal self. So she's like, "You good?"
Yeah. And then Tina also was like, "Hey, chef, or Jeff, by the way, you ever treat me the way you treated Sydney, I'll fucking end you." You know, like, and I'm just like, respect. I can appreciate somebody who stands up for themselves in that way. Like, you might think what you want about me, but don't you ever treat me that way.
Yeah.
To make matters even worse, they're already short staffed for dinner service tonight because they don't have a sous chef right now. They don't have Sydney. The delivery guy arrives, and instead of beef, he has pork, and so now the beef doesn't have beef. And Carmy just laughs. He's like, "What the fuck?" And every delivery guy, I understand this is what they have to say, but it makes me so mad when they're just like, "Take it up with the guy who does the orders. I just do the deliveries." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, bro. What I'm asking is, can you go double check that this didn't? Is there like a thing you can check to see if you got like somebody put the wrong label on the wrong package?"
Mhm.
I'm asking you for the tiniest little amount of help. I don't expect you to solve my problems, and I don't expect you to have any money for me. But what I am asking is, can you just do a quick double check that this is the package meant for me? And I will say, I've had to correct a couple delivery people and package delivery people here because they can't read numbers apparently, and so
Oh my
they'll
god.
walk up and they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, this is for you," and I'm like, "I have never ordered Factor in my life," and they're just like, "Oh, you're right, that's down the street," and I'm like, "Yeah, they number them numerically," you know, like,
You know how many times I've gotten like for a number that is like yeah, like you said, down the street, and I'm like, "You're nowhere near that. Take this and
yeah.
go. Go away."
The other one I like is when people like I've had a few delivery drivers stop and ask me, be like, "Hey, do you know where this is?" And I'm like, "You have GPS. Like it's right there on your phone. Does it look like it's near here?" I get it. I live near an apartment building, and so sometimes it's kind of hard to find the exact address in an apartment building. But the flip side of that is when it's not that building, it's an address down the street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not hard to figure out. Anyway, after Tina says, or after the delivery guy shows up, Carmy laughs and he goes to light a cigarette and he lights it on the stove, and the stove just bursts into flames. Like this was a Michael Bay stove. Right? There's no way. Like this thing had to be doused in oil or gas or something. Like maybe the gas line, somebody had accidentally turned a knob enough to release gas and then fucking, it exploded. But this whole thing catches on fire and Carmy's just watching it. He's zoned into the fire. And you could tell he's thinking about the story he told Marcus a few episodes back where he's like, there's like a second there where I realized if I just don't do anything, all my problems go away. And then you put out the fire, except that Carmy didn't put out the fire. The rest of the staff runs in. They're like, "Yo, what the fuck? What's going on?" And they put out the stove. I guess they put out the stove. That's a fun sentence to say. He goes outside. Carmy goes outside. Texts Sydney. Like your dish needs acid. And she's kind of like, "Fuck off." Like,
Rightfully so.
and he's like, "My behavior was unacceptable." She's like, "Correct." And then he's like, "All right, well, come pick up your final paycheck whenever." And then finally, in a moment that I think we've all been waiting for now for about 6 episodes, Richie comes around and gives the letter that Michael wrote to Carmy. Um, and Carmy opens it, and it's just an index card. And on one side, it says, "I love you, dude. Let it rip." And on the other side, it has a recipe, and it notes on the recipe, "Use the small cans; they taste better." Answering the question of why he was ordering smaller cans that were less cost efficient than the larger cans. Then so Michael's dead. Carmy decides, he's like, "You know what? I'll cook family dinner tonight. It's my turn. It's fine. I'm going to make Michael's spaghetti recipe." He goes and he opens up the tomato cans and he dumps it into the pan. And inside he sees a little baggie. And that baggie is full of fucking money.
Cousin!
And he's like, "What the shit is that?" opens it up. It's a shitload of cash. And we cut to seeing Sydney coming to the restaurant, and she walks in and sees the entire staff opening up cans and pulling baggies of money out of the cans. And we realize that it is all of Uncle Jimmy's money. All that money was put in those cans.
Richie, you can finally get a new CD for your car.
You can finally get your car.
Why? I don't know. But the episode kind of ends with Sydney rejoining the staff at Carmy, being like, yeah, we're going to shut down the beef and we're going to open a new restaurant. And she's like, what are you going to call it? And then the screen's like, the Bear, and, or he says like, the Bear coming soon, the beef is closed, the Bear coming soon. And then we roll credits. That's it. Entire show's over. Yeah, it was kind of wild. The first time I saw this, I actually didn't understand. Like when Carmen's like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Oh, is it like moldy or something?" I didn't pick up on the fact it was a bag. And then when he pulled it out of there, it was money. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I thought about, "Oh man, didn't he throw one of those cans away in episode 1?"
Oh fuck,
Like,
he did.
Some hobo out there was going through cans and fucking found like 20 grand.
And he opened up the can too. So the someone found. Oh fuck.
And funny enough, right? If you look at what was going on during that episode, way back in episode 1, he's telling Richie, "I'm not making that fucking spaghetti. It's off the menu, chef." Right? If he had actually done what Richie insisted and made the spaghetti, he'd have found the money right away.
Fuck me, dude. Oh, I didn't even put that shit together. Fuck.
He'd have found it. He'd have found it literally week 1.
Yeah. I mean, the story would have been ruined, but fuck. Like, this close to solving all his problems. Which one's spaghetti?
If you look at the entirety of season 1, there are many times in the show where there's just a shot of one of those tomato cans sitting there, right? And so it means they're not using them, which is fine, whatever. That's not something that Carmy uses in his cooking, but it's the show kind of letting you know, like, hey, don't forget about these.
Right.
Hey, like he brings it up when he asks Ibrahim, why was he ordering these? And Ibrahim's like, I don't know. Like everything I hear about Michael, I understand less and less, and so I think even I noticed it might be not in this episode, but in the next episode that the cans say KBL on them, which means that they're from the electric company that he's allegedly paying, and all these payments add up to all of Uncle Jimmy's money. Here's my question for you. Wouldn't you just pay back Uncle Jimmy?
All right, so I'm running the restaurant. I've just found this money.
Mm-hmm.
I would give Uncle Jimmy a majority of the money back, and fix up the stuff that I need to fix up. Like it looks like the electrical in that place probably needs to be fixed up.
What? Why? Everything seems fine.
Yeah, no, perfect, 100%. I'm just there wasn't a fire like 4 episodes ago.
There wasn't a fire this episode that didn't go out.
Right. Oh yeah, actually, now that you mention that, maybe I would go ahead and update the fire alarm and the sprinkler system too.
The fire suppression.
Yeah. So yeah. Uncle Jimmy's probably gonna get like 250,000 back, and there'll be 100,000 put into renovations.
Yeah. I'd also, I mean, I'm sure Richie didn't know, but I'd have a question for Richie about like, so you didn't know that he took that money from Uncle Jimmy. Did you ever ask why he had so many fucking cans of sauce?
Right.
Like it did it. But it also seems like maybe Michael wasn't exactly forthcoming even with Richie. So And I think that's part of what Richie's problem is, right? I don't think it's, I mean, I don't think, I know it can't be easy on anybody when somebody close to you commits suicide. Uh, but the flip side is it maybe Richie is taking it extra hard because he thought he was Mikey's best friend, kind of like what Carmy said, right? He thought Mikey was his best friend, but Mikey wasn't close to anybody, shut everybody out at the end. And so Richie didn't even get a chance to do anything. And so, yeah, maybe that's part of his problem too. Is I don't know why the fuck he's doing what he's doing, but he's my guy, and so I'm just doing what he says to do.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see throughout the series, the season, Richie's just like downtrodden, like doesn't want anything to change because like every little thing that changes, he loses a little bit more of Mikey. You just like you can see it because he's just like, if we take the spaghetti off, we've been doing that for forever, and Mikey's the one who always did it. Every time you go ahead and like get the chefs to learn something new, I'm losing a little bit of what used to like be
Mhm.
the essence of this place.
Yeah, it totally, and that makes a ton of sense. I could totally see that being what Richie's motivation here, or is at this point in the show, and it is one of those things. It'll be interesting to see how money changes everybody because uh, this is a group of people who aren't used to like sudden
Yeah.
success. I mean, I don't know if anybody is, but especially this group seems pretty downtrodden, right? Sydney's had her fair share of successes. All of Carmy's successes have come with a massive price to self. And it doesn't sound like Richie gets to win a lot. We don't know about Ibra or Tina, but it doesn't seem like they're necessarily like up like on the top echelon of life in the luck category. And so yeah, the it'll be interesting to see how people's attitudes change when there's money involved, and like how Carmy is going to work that money. But my first thought would have been like my first phone call would have been to Uncle Jimmy. I'd have been like, "Hey, dude, I don't want you to break my knees.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let me pay you this back, and then we can renegotiate something else. Like, we can talk about a different loan as needed. But I'd like to get my brother's debt off my lap."
Actually, yeah, that's kind of smart. Fuck the renovations, pay off the debt, and then renegotiate. Yeah, no, I like
Yeah.
that.
Or I mean, like, I think so. I think at one point, I can't remember. It might have been like season episode 3 or 4, but somebody's talking about like the ice cream machine broke. So that makes me think that there is some, and maybe even the first episode, like they were talking about how the mixer was janky. And so there's some equipment that probably needs to be replaced and upgraded. And so maybe I'd talk to Uncle Jimmy and be like, "Hey, I'm going to keep like 50 grand of your money. And that's my debt to you now is 50 grand. Here's the rest,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and I need to buy some equipment. I'll get that back to you." Right. Something manageable. But I think going in and adding some good faith in this relationship of like, "Hey, I could have not told you about this money, but I chose to tell you and give it back to you," shows that I'm legit. I care about your money as much as I care about this place. And so that being noted, please consider in the future helping me out. I'll let you know what I need,
Yeah.
because Uncle Jimmy has been pretty open about the fact that he actually fucking hates the restaurant. Like, he said that at the dogs episode that he doesn't like it, and that he thinks it's a waste of money. He said in episode 2 that he turned into a fucking parking lot, or something like that. So he clearly doesn't give a shit about the place.
Yeah.
And so, for being in debt to him, and the idea that you might get your legs broken, your property repossessed by your uncle, who's then going to turn the thing that you got your legs broken over into a fucking parking lot, I'd pay him back.
Right. Hey, audience, if you take a loan out from me, I won't break your knees or take your housing stuff. I'll just take all the food out of your fridge because I like food.
Yeah, I will assist him. I will be raiding your
Yeah.
pantry. I have big arms, and I will carry all of your dried goods.
Yeah. So
That's right. So pay up.
so yeah. You'll be able to walk, you'll be able to live in your house, but your fridge will never have food ever
Yeah.
again.
So they don't single out a given episode for these sort of things, but for this season, Jeremy Allen White received the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. I don't know who he was up against, but dude, Jesus fucking Christ, this episode was Carmy at his finest.
Yeah.
That monologue it's chilling to listen to because it's so fucking real. It's so well written and it's delivered perfectly. You could, like, somebody actually quoted the whole thing on IMDb. So if you're somebody who either doesn't have Hulu or doesn't want to put time into watching this show and you want to see what we're talking about, if you go to IMDb and go to quotes, the entire thing is there. And you can read it. I'll vote for it as helpful because nobody else has.
The other thing that I wanna know is, so they get the delivery of pork when they were supposed to have beef, and we get that opening soundtrack from like the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, ooh, let's fucking go!" And then he goes and lights that cigarette, and it bursts
Yeah.
into flames, and the song fucking dies, like just fucking. And I was like, the sound in this whole entire series has just been on point, every moment, everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really well done. I didn't mention it, but the last episode was nominated for a couple sound awards,
Nice.
and I believe the show overall was nominated for several of the technical achievement awards, because this show doesn't really feel like a TV show. Sometimes it feels like you're watching short
Yeah.
movies, and it's impressive that this is going on network television. It's on FX, and two, it's impressive that this is not from Netflix, that this is from the second place streamer, right? And it is creatively risky.
Yeah.
It's a workplace comedy that is kind of a dark, grim comedy that about like actual stressful situations and treats the workplace as a real thing and not just a backdrop for wacky interactions. That's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Comedy hasn't been a strong market in the 2020s. I don't know why this pandemic, I guess maybe people didn't feel like it was funny. And then there was like an insurrection and, we still have a fucking diaper addled moron walking around trying to be president. So, who knows why people aren't finding things as funny, but you look around at the lineups, pretty much every sitcom that's come out in the last 2 years has been canned. They've not been well received. Pretty much any comedy movie that's come out in the last 2 years has been, or last 3 or 4 years really, has been a something slash comedy. So like Everything Everywhere All at Once is a something slash comedy, but much like Die Hard, or other movies like it, even Palm Springs, right? The comedy is kind of secondary and worked in as part of like the characters' dialogue, and not like they're setting up situations to be funny.
Yeah.
And so, like, look at the comedies we've reviewed on the show. How many of them have actually been funny? Like so many of them were just like, dude, what the fuck is the point of this? And so, yeah, for a show to come along that is more grounded, and I mean, genuinely, the word that gets used all the time describing the show is stressful.
Yeah.
Right? It's a stressful fucking show to watch. I know what happens, and I'm still sitting there on my couch like, no, dude,
Right?
like,
Yeah.
don't fucking do it. I'll say this in about, I think it's about 3 weeks from now. Well, 6 episodes from now, audience. I'm not 100% sure when Ringo and I will be recording those, but 6 episodes from now, uh, there is a scene where I was literally shouting at the TV, "Don't you fucking throw that fork. Don't fucking do it." And that is a dumb thing. The only reason I usually shout at my TV is when I shout "what" at a reality show because somebody picked like some stupid choice, like I've decided I'm going to marry the girl who absolutely openly said she only wants me for my money. And I'm like, "What? Like, why did you do that?" Or sports. So for me to be watching a show about a dysfunctional family restaurant and be like, "Don't throw that fork." Like, that's something.
Well, so I've got a third time that he yells at his TV, and it's not at his TV, it's at his cat Swarley, and it's usually because Swarley has stepped in front of the TV. How do I know this? Because he and I both do the same damn thing whenever our cats are like, "Hey, let me step in front of your TV and risk knocking it off the
Yeah.
fucking counter."
Yeah. Get the fuck out of there. Yeah, so all right. End of the season. Would you recommend the show to people
Oh,
at this
dude,
point?
fuck yeah. I'm so disappointed with prior me for not listening to my neighbor and saying, "Hey, go watch this." And then you suggested it, and I don't know. When you suggested it, I didn't have the time because I think it was last
Probably the school
semester.
year. Yeah.
I don't know. And now I'm making the time. I'm gonna make
Mhm.
it's a fucking good series. I've enjoyed every fucking episode. All the characters I've liked. Even okay, Richie's a piece of shit, but I like him for the aspect that he's like adding an acid to a fucking food to go ahead and
Mhm.
enhance the flavors.
Well, and he's a necessary foil for Carmy.
Yeah.
He's necessary for the rest of the staff to feel connected. And honestly, maybe outside of Sydney and Tina, he's probably the most realistic character. I know several Richies.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I know that guy. I've worked with that guy. I might have even been that guy. I think I said a couple episodes back that we've all got a little bit of cousin Richie in us when he calls his kids assholes. Like asshole kids. I was like, yeah, that's me. Like,
Also, he got stabbed in the ass. What's there not?
yeah, yeah. Oh, and this episode is the one where he's talking to Ibrahim about, yeah, she would have got me in the asshole. You can't sew that back up. And he's like, I've sewed some assholes up.
Ibrahim for the fucking win.
Yeah, dude, that guy's funny. All right, after 8 episodes, who's your favorite character?
Favorite character. Fuck. It's between Ibrahim and Sid, man. Like those two are just. Ibrahim is the comedy, and Sid is just like you said. She is not a supporting role. She might as well be a fucking primary character.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny saying that because Carmy is the fucking main character, but realistically, who am I rooting for? Ibrahim and Sid.
Yeah.
Sid, I think, takes it.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Sydney because it seems like she deserves a win. It's like she's had some bad luck and bad press, and we'll find out more about that as the show goes on. But I'm for me, as much shit as I've talked about in the last couple episodes, I'm also rooting for Tina because Tina's got some shit going on,
Yeah.
right? Like her kid got suspended from school and she had to bring him to work because she got nowhere to take him. And that's pretty relatable. There's lots of single moms out there or not even single moms. We don't know her situation, but lots of moms out there who don't have a childcare option on the fly, either because it's expensive or it's just not available. And so, yeah, like, what are you supposed to do? Let your teenager run wild? Like that's what happened to me. And look at me now.
Got a podcast.
Yeah. Woo. 30 listeners a year. Congratulations, us.
Hey, real quick.
18 of them are me.
Real quick, audience. Hey, if you send us money, we'll go to New York and try out food and let you know about it.
I'm still waiting for the $30 for our Seattle dog.
Right?
Like I'll go up there. If you guys want us to make a road trip video, it'll be $45 because one of us has to drive to the other one's house and get them first. So like, yeah, and then we could do like a road trip thing. I'll show you what the space needle looks like. You can see it on the internet. Don't pay me for this. And then
we can go hunt down Bigfoot while we're eating our Seattle dogs.
you were right there.
But we could hunt me while eating.
I'll throw a net over you if that's what audience for money. I will throw a net over him.
For extra money, he will hit me with a stick. I mean, he'll do it for free, but
I would do it for free. But if I'm filming it, then I'm getting paid for it.
This podcast changes from reviewing movies to the best stick to beat Ringo with.
Or it turns into one of those early 2000s prank channels, right? Like, my husband is so stupid. I'm going to put a fucking piece of saran wrap over the thing. And so when he comes home, he hurts himself. And then he comes home and he hurts himself. They're like, ha, you got pranked, idiot. And somehow that got like 9 million views. I should have been more proactive in the past. I could have been a hack YouTuber. Now the bar is too high. People want way too much.
Maybe that's what we should do is we should bring the bar back down.
Oh, I've been trying to lower the bar for years. That's how I made my entire career. I was like, what would you say is the bare minimum? And then people are like, well, the bare minimum is this. I'm like, awesome. I will do slightly under that and try to get paid for a long time.
How do you not know what the bare minimum is? You are a bear.
But I have no math skills.
Exactly. So what's the bare minimum? No math skills. And Tuck's barking.
Yeah. Tux, come here, bud. Come here. Come here. Dog break number 2. Come here, Tux.
And fucking Bruja, like, ugh.
Yeah. Audience, you can still see my cats. I think we've said this multiple times, but we record 2 episodes at once. So when this looks different than the other episodes, and you're like, "Who are those cats?" It's the same cats as the last episode. They're just in another episode too. Yeah. All right. I think that wraps it up for this. That wraps it up for season 1 of The Bear. I'd also recommend it to pretty much anybody. I don't think there's like. I guess the other group of people, I didn't think about this until this episode when I said it a bunch of times. But yeah, if you're somebody who has unfortunately had somebody take their own life around you, this show might be a little rough. Not around you, somebody that you've cared about taking your own life or taking their own life. This show's a little rough. And this episode, maybe more than any so far, has been the roughest. And I can say it gets a little bit worse. So there is, there's an episode coming up soon that is, it's ranked as one of their best. It's fucking brutal to watch. Rarely do my wife and I need to take a break after watching an episode of a given television show? But this time we both kind of like did that Midwestern thing where we slapped our knees, said "whelp," and stood up. Like, uh, anything else you want to add about Braciole?
Not about Braciole, but you said slap your knee and say whelp. You ever heard people say you say op? I don't know how.
Oh,
Okay, is
oh,
that how? Okay,
yep.
that's
Do it all the time. Learned it from my grandparents. They came up straight out of the Midwest, and that used to be a thing at their house. You had the whole family there, but it's not, it's not a mansion. So people would be bumping into each other. Oh, oh, excuse me. Oh,
Oh, okay. So it's okay.
oh,
Yeah. Okay, my family did that too. Oh.
yeah. So it's funny. There's certain things that people claim are only a Southern thing, only a Midwestern thing, only a West Coast thing that just spread.
Mhm.
And so everybody does it. But as far as I can tell, that's from Midwestern things, because when you step back like one generation to see where it came from, it's people from Oklahoma, people from Nebraska. Both of my sets of grandparents came out of various parts of the Midwest, whether it's the Dakotas or the Oklahoma area. So yeah, you can you can hear it in the middle. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, and it's one of my favorite memes I've seen about it is like somebody like hits themselves with the door and they're like, don't say it, 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 don't say it. So, oh,
Thank you. I've been like years trying to I read the OP in the quotations. So I'm like, what the fuck
it
are they?
should probably be OPE
Yeah.
with like an accent over the E, but that's not quite right. I guess it'd have to be OHPE would be the best way to spell it. Or maybe just OHP. OP. Technically, I guess it's a OHPUH. This will get edited out. We don't need to. People don't need to hear me trying to figure out the right way to spell a fucking regional dialect word.
Oh shit! On the series, the fucking carbonara. What the fuck was it? The food that she served. I've closed out of my notes. Damn it! Fuck.
The food that who served?
That Sid served to Marcus.
Yeah, what was that called?
Yeah, that
Hold
shit
on.
looked
I have
good. It
not
was
closed out of
some
my notes.
bass. Chilean
Oh, it's
sea
Chilean
bass.
sea bass.
Yeah,
Yeah, that did look pretty
dude,
good.
that shit looked amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk much about the food in the last episode because there wasn't much to talk about. There was a lot of screaming and shouting and throwing, and then there was a donut that got thrown on the floor. But this episode did have some really delicious looking
Right.
food in it. Carmy in his like dream sequences has all these fancy plates of shit, and I was like, I know that's way too expensive, and I've railed against the, or not railed against, but definitely stated my I have broke tastes. So like, there's no way I would notice that high end shit.
Right. Also, I loved how Carmy and Sid both said that they tasted Marcus's floor donut.
Yeah, I tasted your floor donut. It was good.
And Marcus is like, "You guys are gross."
You're the gross one. You threw your donut on the floor. And then Carmy leaves. La 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 la. Not me. You did it.
But yeah, I don't have anything else to add except I guess eat floor donuts, motherfuckers.
and on that floor donut note, we've been streaming Wasteland. We are not your local health board. This has been episode 8 of season 1 of The Bear, finishing out season 1 strong. Braciole.
Braciole.
I'm Greg. That's Ringo. You can find us on all the social medias. You can find us on all of the various websites. You can find us wherever podcasts are found. And if you can't find us, I don't know how you watch this, but leave a comment. And we will catch you on the next episode. Say goodbye, Ringo.
You might not have invited me, but I'm here for the food anyways. Bye.